I stood at the edge of my cornfield, staring at the fresh tire tracks cutting right through the middle of my crops. Again, fourth time this week. The white ruts sliced across 3 months of work, bent stalks, crushed tassels, mud flung like a tantrum across the rows. It wasn't just destruction, it was insult. By the end of this story, Victoria's $90,000 Escalade would be sitting on 4 flat tires in the middle of my cornfield. I'm Marcus Chen, 47 years old, ex-logistics manager turned cattle rancher. I left the city for peace and open skies, but I never expected the war that found me here. So before this nightmare began, I thought I was building a dream. 3 years ago, I walked away from a 25-year corporate career. Burnout, they called it. I called it survival. I took my savings and bought 80 acres of Nebraska land, rolling hills, a clean creek, good soil, and most importantly, outside any HOA boundary. I'd heard enough horror stories about HOAs to know I didn't want one breathing down my neck. I rebuilt an old farmhouse, fenced the land, planted corn and soy, and raised 20 head of cattle. The driveway stretched half a mile to County Road 47. Gravel I maintained myself. It was quiet, simple, exactly what I'd dreamed of during endless years under fluorescent lights. But right on my western boundary sat Meadowbrook Estates, a gated kingdom of oversized houses, clipped lawns, and people who thought paying $700 a month made them royalty. Victoria lived there. Her husband was HOA president. She was treasurer. They drove matching Escalades and, from what my neighbor Dale said, ran the HOA like their personal empire. Then, 6 months ago, it started. One morning, I heard an engine roar and watched a white Escalade cut straight through my cornfield like it was a public road. 2 days later, again, same path, same tire tracks, same destruction. By the third time I was ready. I pulled my truck across the muddy path, blocking her route. The Escalade stopped, window rolled down. She looked at me like I was the inconvenience. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my tone polite despite my anger. "This is private property. You can't just drive through here." She laughed. Actually laughed. "There's an easement," she said, waving her hand. "From the 1960s. Check the records." I told her straight. "I own this land. There's no easement on my deed. You need to stop." She put her sunglasses back on and smiled that condescending, ice-cold smile. "Check the records, honey. You're new here. You wouldn't understand." Then she drove around me, right through another row of corn. I was furious, but I'm not a hothead. I went straight to Jim Sutton, my property lawyer. He ran a full title search. 2 days later, he called. "Marcus, there's no easement. Your title's clean. No rights of way. Whoever's driving through is trespassing. Period." I thought that'd be the end of it. It wasn't. Victoria doubled down. Twice a day, every day. 7:15 a.m. out, 5 p.m. back. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, photos, tire marks. I put up reflective no trespassing signs. She didn't slow down. I sent a certified cease and desist letter. She signed the receipt. 3 days later, I watched her tear it open, glance once, then throw it out her window into my field. That was the moment I called the sheriff. Deputy Morrison came out. Good man, calm, respectful. He saw the tracks, the damage, the signs, promised to talk to her. 2 hours later, he came back looking frustrated. "Mr. Chen, she says you're harassing her," he said. "She also showed me some papers claiming there's an easement." I told him the truth. "Those documents are fake." My lawyer confirmed it. He nodded but sighed. "Look, this is a civil issue. Unless I catch her in the act, I can't press charges. You'll need to handle it through the courts." Courts meant time and money, neither of which I could spare. But it was about to get worse. I installed a steel gate across her route, locked it with a chain and padlock. Saturday morning, I poured coffee, listening for peace. Then came screeching brakes and metal being cut. She had bolt cutters. Cut my chain, drove through, middle finger in the air. Trail cam caught everything. I called the sheriff again. Morrison watched the footage, shook his head. "I'll file a report, but you need to get your lawyer involved. This is escalating fast." He wasn't wrong. Within a week, I got letters from her lawyer, then from the HOA's legal team. They accused me of blocking an established route, threatened to sue. Jim drafted a calm but pointed reply. No easement existed. We documented every trespass. Then Daisy happened. Daisy, one of my best Angus cows, was 6 weeks from calving. Victoria came roaring through again, horn blaring, faster than ever. Daisy panicked, ran, fell. An hour later, I found her. The calf was gone. Dr. Patterson, my vet, examined her and wrote it plainly. Stress-induced miscarriage. I filed another report, attached the vet's findings, added photos, receipts, letters. Nothing changed. That night, standing in the barn with Daisy lying beside me, I decided I was done being polite. I spent 3 nights reading about vehicle deterrence, laws, case notes, everything I could find. Finally, I called Jim. Is it legal? I asked. Can I stop her car from destroying my land? He thought a long time. Grey area, he said. If you warn clearly, and I mean clearly, you can argue you acted to protect property, not harm anyone, but you'll still get sued, maybe worse. Will I get arrested? I asked. Unlikely, he said. If you tell the sheriff first and document every warning, you're within your rights to protect your property. That was enough for me. I ordered retractable, professional-grade spike strips, the kind designed to deflate tires safely, not flip cars. Then I built my defense like a fortress. Trail cameras on every corner, reflective warning signs every 50 feet, certified letters with photo evidence sent to her and her lawyers. Each sign read, private property, vehicle deterrent devices in use, tire damage will occur. I even showed everything to Deputy Morrison. I want to be completely transparent, I told him. I'm not hiding anything. He walked the land, read the signs and nodded slowly. Off the record, I don't blame you, he said. On the record, be careful. If anyone gets hurt, even by their own fault, you could still be liable. Dawn broke cold and quiet. I walked the property line, coffee in hand, breath hanging in the air. The signs gleamed red in the rising sun. Cameras blinked green. Everything was in place. Then, the engine. The Escalade roared through the corner of the property, slowed slightly at the first sign, then pressed on. A sharp hiss echoed across the field. Then another, then another. 4 tires, flat. The Escalade coasted to a stop halfway across my cornfield. Steam curling from the rims, birds scattering from the noise. Victoria stepped out, furious, screaming into the morning air. I didn't move. Just watched from the barn door, camera recording, heart pounding. Within minutes, Deputy Morrison arrived. He'd been notified earlier, just in case. He looked at the scene, then at me. You warned her, he said. I nodded. Her lawyer called later that day, voice trembling, begging me not to press charges, promising to cover damage, to pay for the gate, even the vet bill. I didn't need revenge. I just needed peace. The trespassing stopped that day, and it's never happened again. Look, I don't tell this story to brag. I tell it because sometimes doing everything the right way, letters, reports, polite words, still gets ignored. But here's the truth. If you ever end up in a fight like this, document everything. Photos, receipts, certified mail. Talk to your lawyer. Talk to law enforcement. Don't act in anger. Act in record. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to protect my land, my cattle, and my peace. If you watch this far, drop a comment telling me where you're from, and hit subscribe, because out here, even a quiet cornfield can turn into a courtroom drama.